Hello, party people. How's it going? I'm on the couch. That's Maisie. Hi, Maisie. She hears me talking and she thinks someone's here. There's nobody here. Anyway, I wanted to do a very quick YouTube on Forward and a little bit on BHF. They are the two special situations I have on right now that are going to be resolved imminently. They are two complete pieces of shits, and I wouldn't have it any other way. So Forward has been weak. It was weak yesterday before the Fed decision, and then it just got more weak as the day went on. When you have situations like this, you assume there's a leak, and you get worried that someone knows something that you don't know, and you panic. And sometimes panicking is correct, and other times it's not. In fact, my most recent reference to this would be Wide Open West, that basically was going straight down into the deal a month ago. Not in a single day, but it was basically bidless for 6 straight weeks. The problem with these thinner special situations that are taking a longer time, take a longer time than expected, is that most of the people that are interested in owning this have already bought it, and the only incremental buyers going forward are those same people buying more as it goes down. All it takes is one decent sized ARB to want to unload and make the stock go down a lot. So why would somebody want to unload? Let's talk about the timeline here. So the only data point we have since July we have two data points actually. We have an article from Axios Pro in mid-August that said final bids are due early September. That's the first data point. And the second data point is the board of director member resigning at the end of August, August 28th. So we're sit here on September 18th and we have no deal and no news, no article and no break. BHF and Forward are a little bit different. So Forward has a public sales process happening. So if this breaks, they have to put out a press release, or they will put out a press release saying that they've ended the strategic review. BHF has no public process, so it's unknown how that will formally break. It'll either be a press release, unlikely, or it'll be an article that says that the buyer has stopped negotiating or has walked. I'll get to BHF in a second. So given the board of director member resigning at the end of August, which I talked about in pretty good detail on my last live YouTube, so I don't want to go back into the exact same stuff again, but I'm incredibly bullish on that event, and I don't see any outcome here other than a sale given his resignation. I put a 10% chance that a sale doesn't occur given he left. The part that I think the market's getting wrong is you don't usually get a deal days after a board of director resigns. I would think you have to wait at least a few weeks. The Nordstrom situation happened like 2 weeks later, and I think that's pretty quick. For him to really be kind of clean of the final vote and the sales agreement or the voting agreement with the buyer, I think you have to give it a few weeks. So when was the final bids? The final bids have definitely come in already. We could be almost certain of that. It was already running long when they pushed it to the beginning of September. I think it probably happened that first week after Labor Day, quite frankly. But let's say it happened last week. They would very much know by now if there was either A, no final bids, or B, if the final bid was at a price that didn't reach the clearing threshold to sell the company. And I don't think there is a clearing price that they wouldn't sell the company for. As long as the final bid starts with a 3 handle, which I think it almost certainly does, this will be sold. And the most important part of this is that you have a 12% holder, Clearlake, that has notified the market in July they are bidding. They've owned the stock for 2 years. They bought the stock in the open market because they wanted to put in a bid for the whole company. This has been their game plan for 2 years. And as long as nothing material has happened since they reported earnings in August, I have no reason to believe there has been, nothing should have changed in their viewpoint that they want to own the whole company, right? Interest rates are all moving in the right direction. The market's all moving in the right direction. I'm not worried that any kind of black swan event that's happened in the last 4 or 6 weeks that's made Clear Lake decide they don't want to own this anymore. So what's taking so long? I don't really think it's taking that long versus when we've been told from Axios Pro they were going to do final bids in early September, and that board member leaving. My guess is we get a deal as soon as Monday. I would think it happens in the next 2 weeks. I would be very surprised if it doesn't happen by October 1st. But every day we go without a formal break is more likely to me that we are going to get a deal. It might be a more complex deal. Maybe the 12%, there's also, sorry, I'm not to be confusing here, but there's also a 12% or 14% holder on the board, Ridge Capital. Maybe they're going to roll their stake, and that takes time to negotiate with the ultimate buyer. Maybe this guy that just resigned from the board is planning on being part of the buying group and didn't want to mess it up, so he resigned. They don't own 5% of the company, so they don't have to file a 13D. Who knows what the reasons are, but I'm pretty price sensitive on this because there's so much debt that I've always just been betting there's going to be a deal. So most of my position is structured through call spreads. It's 30-35 call spreads. So I'm sorry, not 30-35, 25-30 call spreads going all the way out to December 2028. You can't put these on anymore, so don't even try. But I got good prices on all of those really far out stuff. And the thesis why you do that is if it breaks, those still have significant value. So you're not going to lose your full price of entry if you have 800 days left on your call spread. As far as the more shorter term call spreads, look, I can't imagine this is not done by October OPEX. But at 27 or 27.20, I personally prefer common. But I can see an argument for paying 250 or 260 or 265 for those call spreads. Again, it's just a risk preference. I already have a ton of those on. I paid 265 for them a while back. Your break here is as low as $20. A deal price can be as high as 40. It's very unlikely it's going to be $40, I think. I think you're probably only going to have one real buyer left, which is Clear Lake. But it could definitely be in the mid to upper 30s, even though the stock price is telling you otherwise. It's very levered, and every one turn of EBITDA is $8 or $9 a share. So it's a long way of saying is I have been buying common here for a low to mid 30s deal at a 20 break, and I think an 85 to 90% chance of it happening. But again, I'm very cognizant that this will be an ugly break, and I have a hard time wanting to hold any common post break. I'll take the tax losses. I will keep those call spreads on that are 800 days out, 700 days out, and figure out something to do with that in the future. But I won't unwind those. So that's my view on forward. Every day we go without news is probably good news because it's very easy to have them have no bidders anymore. And in that case, they have to notify the market. They will notify the market, especially with the board member leaving a few weeks ago. So I think the market is giving us an opportunity here. BHF, that one is way hairier, much smaller in that. Oh, by the way, so forward is big now. It's a 25% delta adjusted position, kind of split, I don't know, 12 to 14% common, and the rest is in large call spreads. With BHF, that's much smaller. It's like a 12% delta adjusted position, with it being like 2.5% common, though I own a lot of 45 September calls, and I don't know what I'm going to do with those tomorrow. This one's pretty simple. There's one buyer. The buyer's not a great buyer, but he's there nonetheless. There was an article in July from the Wall Street Journal saying they went in exclusive negotiations with this buyer. And then you have the FT article, which was from last week, Monday or Tuesday, that said that they are in the final stages of raising equity capital from Middle Eastern firms for the buyout price at a significant premium, and the debt financing is all lined up. The reason why I like this one is that is a very long time from mid-July to mid-September. And this is a complex deal, and again, much easier to break than to complete. And if we get to the point where they're just trying to finalize the equity checks, which is a very important point, by the way. I mean, if they don't have the financing for it, they can't buy the company. But they've been negotiating for this for months, and it's all Middle Eastern money. and they've already worked with these firms before to start their their uh, their vehicle. Like the company that's looking to buy BHF has a investment vehicle of insurance, and they're no stranger to these equity partners. So again, I put it at a pretty high probability, north of 75%, with a break to like 35. I think a deal will be in the upper 50s, as high as 60, with a decent spread because it'll take 6 to 12 months to close. So at 45, it's like 10 down, 8 to 10 up, kind of a 75% plus chance of happening. Um, is it the greatest idea ever? No. Another one of these where I'll probably have to sell my position out if it breaks because I'm not going to own this um, at any price. I'll just take the losses. Um, my spreads there are small November, small December, and I have on a very sizable, not remotely like forward, but a sizable, again, 2028 call spread I got on with the same thesis that if it breaks, it'll have substantial value and I can hold it or sell it in the future. You can't put on any of those today. You probably can put on, sorry, you could put on the November, December 4550s, but you can't put on the deck 2028 or the Jan 2028. I can't remember what it was. Call spread. Again, that one's much riskier. That's really just me gambling. Um, I really like that this is far along. It's to me, it feels like it's at the very late stages, and I don't see the board rejecting any price that they put up as long as it's north of 55. Um, they wouldn't have got this far if the board and the buyer didn't have some sort of agreement on price or very tight band. So all you're left with is, can they get the equity capital? And I think it's a very good chance they can. And I think that's about it, guys. Anything else I want to talk about? I don't think so. All right. Oh, and I've sold all the rest of my Arvinus. It was a very small position, but that is just the worst press release I could have ever asked for. Um, I knew Pfizer would walk, but I didn't know they would also want 50% of all proceeds to a third party, which is smart. I mean, why shouldn't they get half of the proceeds? What happened there was Arvinus said, "Hey, Pfizer, take this off of us for a decent amount of money, and if you're not going to take it from us, punt it back to us for free." And Pfizer said, "Go fuck yourself. We don't even want this, but we're definitely not going to give you 100% of some small amount of money you can get from selling it to a third party. So let's just sell it to a third party together." And maybe they'll sell it for a few $100 million to a third party. Arvinus will get 150 million out of it, and Arvinus is dead money unless they liquidate the company or sell the company, either or. And I don't see either of those happening anytime soon. Even if our activist is successful in a slate next year, they'll only control a third of the board seats, and it's just a lot of time from now, and a huge amount of cash burn once you get to that point. So I just think it's dead money. And all my position in the last few months has just been this October 750, 1250 call spreads, and I own some deck 1020s. Um, I still own the deck 1020s, but they're virtually worthless. But the October 750, 1250s, I'm out of. All right. Happy Thursday. Let's get some deals on the tape. Forward is a big one. Let's do it.